東京です。ご乗車ありがとうございました。新幹線中央線はお乗り換えです。車内にお忘れ物ないようにご注意ください。4番線は取り付け。
Japan, a country of 100 million people, alive to the tempo and the beat of the modern age. Japan, a country of composure and tranquility, taking inspiration from the traditions of a time-honored culture. The Holocaust of World War II left Japan prostrate and the people lost. The daily problems of mere existence were immediate and overwhelming, and the outside world was remote indeed. The pain of defeat was as much spiritual as physical. But the people quickly regained a sense of purpose and patiently began to build their country anew. A quarter of a century has passed since those dark post-war days, and Japan has undergone a remarkable rebirth. One foundation stone of this rebirth is the new constitution, which has thoroughly implanted among the people the concepts and the workings of democracy. The Diet, Japan's two-house national legislature, is the fountainhead of government today and the focus of national attention at all times. In recent years, television has brought politics closer to the Japanese masses and at the same time helped to sink the roots of democracy deeper into the thoughts and actions of the people. Television also serves the nation's political life with a variety of panel discussions. One weekly program brings together representatives of the ruling party and each of the opposition parties to air their respective views. Training in democratic procedures begins in the primary schools. The children are taught to freely discuss their common problems, exchange opinions and ideas, and find a solution in the spirit of mutual respect and cooperation. For adults, too, there is complete freedom to speak. In public squares, one can frequently listen, if one wants, to speakers from the left to the right and from organizations of all kinds. Freedom of assembly is also broadly interpreted. After their annual May Day rally in Tokyo, labor union members with their families parade through the streets of the capital to mark their once-in-a-year festival. free expression is not always so peaceful. Japan also is having its student problem, and at times some of the radical elements tend to get out of hand. The generation gap in Japan is especially painful, a result of the upheaval of war and defeat and the extremely rapid tempo of social change. The day after that particular student riot in Tokyo was April 29th, the Emperor's birthday. The citizens thronged to the palace grounds to cheer His Majesty. The Emperor stands as the symbol of the unity of the people and represents the fundamental stability underlying Japanese society. Japan's economic growth has often been described as the miracle of the 20th century. Aided by the worldwide technological revolution of the post-war years, Japan's heavy industries have grown rapidly. Today, the Japanese shipyards rank number one, producing the world's largest supertankers. In land transportation, there are the world's first super express trains. Throughout the nation, high-rise buildings resistant to earthquakes are changing city skylines, and expanding networks of roads and expressways are drawing distant parts closer together. All this testifies to the tremendous growth of the Japanese economy. Credit for these achievements must go first of all to the Japanese people, who applied their energy and their diligence to the task of economic reconstruction and development. At the same time, Japan has been favored by factors outside her own control, the constant efforts by the powers of the free world to preserve peace, and progress in expanding and strengthening international trade. Indeed, the technological basis of the Japanese economy is well-founded. But the fast rate of economic growth has not been without its problems. In some areas, the Japanese have literally worked themselves into a traffic jam. Japan shares with all other industrial states the ill effects arising from excessive urbanization and rapid industrialization. In many places, man and machine must battle for their own spot of living space. The motorized age has come to Japan with full force. The number of private cars, not to mention other kinds of motor vehicles, is steadily increasing each year, adding to the burden that the nation's roads must carry. While impressive progress has been made in building modern highways, investment in this sector still lags behind that in other sectors of the economy. A major need is for much greater capital spending for social overhead. Rapid industrial growth has also brought to the fore two other urgent problems: public hazards and the imbalance between low productivity sectors and the highly developed heavy industries. Many problems have yet to be solved in creating a healthy environment suitable for living in an industrial age. The free and open trading community of the world has been fundamental in stimulating Japan's great economic progress. As a result, Japan is now a major trading nation and a fully fledged partner in a growing world economy. Not only in its needs for raw materials, but also in the demands for industrial and consumer goods, the Japanese economy depends upon the free flow of international trade. Though difficulties exist, the government is committed to a program of import and capital liberalization. Movement may seem slow, but the trend is irreversible and gaining momentum. Prosperity is a fundamental part of Japanese life, and the home market for the products of the modern world, both domestic and foreign, is destined to expand. A primary reason behind Japan's success as a modern nation is the people's thirst for learning. Even in the feudal days prior to 1868, education was highly regarded by both the nobility and the common people. This esteem for education has been a sustaining factor in the development and stability of Japanese society over the past 100 years. Devotion to learning exists on all levels, and more of the younger generation than ever are moving on to schools of higher learning. In the schools of today, science and technology are being stressed as roads to the future and doors to a fuller life for the people. With one of the highest literacy rates in the world, the Japanese people are avid readers. Bookshops offering both Japanese books and magazines, as well as many foreign language imports, are always crowded. The Kanda section of Tokyo is famous for its wealth of second-hand bookshops. The demand for books exists also in the countryside. In outlying areas, the mobile library bus is now a familiar sight. The Japanese Constitution gives expression to the hopes of the Japanese people by stating that all people of the world have the right to live in peace, free from fear and want. They are keenly aware that world peace is a basic condition for their survival as a nation. In search of this ideal, they turn to the United Nations. Ever since her admission to the world body in December 1956, Japan has been actively participating in almost every field of the organization's peace-building activities. This is a search for lasting security through international cooperation by strengthening self-defense at home while promoting economic development abroad. As a member of the free nations of the world, Japan has signed with the United States the Treaty of Mutual Cooperation and Security, thereby entrusting her safety to a system of collective security. Once totally dependent upon outside help, Japan today can rely substantially on her own means for national defense, with the American forces providing supplementary support. The self-defense forces, made up entirely of young men and women volunteers, have been steadily strengthened over the years as the national economy developed. Throughout the three services, the men and officers alike are demonstrating a dedication to the difficult task of maintaining the nation's defense. The popular will, as expressed in the Constitution, will never allow these forces to be sent overseas. At the same time, however, the Japanese people have developed a renewed sense of responsibility towards contributing to peace and stability through their own self-defense. The mighty Mekong River of the Indochina Peninsula symbolizes the other major facet of Japan's contribution to peace and stability. Through her expanding programs of economic and technical cooperation with the developing countries of Southeast Asia, Japan recognizes her responsibilities towards helping achieve Asian development and progress. In India, for example, Japan has established a number of agricultural demonstration farms. These are providing local farmers with instruction and training in the techniques of rice cultivation, drawing upon Japan's long experience in this field. Japan's 8 programs are varied and extensive. Large civil engineering projects are underway in a number of countries to construct dams for irrigation and flood control, as well as power generation. Since Japan joined the Colombo Plan a decade and a half ago, she has consistently endeavored to expand her economic assistance. Today, her total aid to the countries of Southeast Asia has risen to 2nd place, ranking only after the United States. This shipbuilding plant in Singapore was built with financial and technical aid from Japan. This complete steel mill in Malaysia is another example. In both cases, Japan provides supervisory personnel and technical training. Japan has also helped to build health and welfare facilities. This water purification plant was built with Japanese aid in the capital city of Vientiane in Laos. The India Center of the Japan Leprosy Mission for Asia. Most of the hospital's equipment has been provided by the Japanese government. The center is proud to number among its staff Japanese doctors, nurses, and voluntary social workers. Apart from overseas projects, the government regularly offers training programs at specially organized centers and schools within Japan. Each year, Japan welcomes hundreds of trainees and scholarship students from abroad. Research and study in medical science is one of the more important fields of training in this aspect of Japan's technological cooperation. Another is fisheries, a vital need in the developing countries. At the Japanese Fishery Training Center south of Tokyo, trainees from almost all the developing countries of the world learn modern fishery techniques from Japanese specialists. Throughout her program of economic cooperation, Japan places first emphasis on Southeast Asia. Enjoying close historical and geographical ties with the countries of Asia, Japan realizes she holds a special responsibility in promoting and encouraging their economic development. To achieve this aim, Japan took the initiative in establishing the Ministerial Conference for the Economic Development of Southeast Asia. This forum held its first meeting in Tokyo in 1966. Later the same year, Japan was host to the inaugural meeting of the Asian Development Bank. Japan is active also in the Asian and Pacific Council, which held its 4th ministerial meeting in Japan in 1969. Prime Minister Sato stressed in his welcoming address that the Japanese government intends to play a positive part in the progress and development of the entire region. 9 nations belong to ASPAC: Australia, the Republic of China, the Republic of Korea, Malaysia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Thailand, the Republic of Vietnam, and Japan. ASPAC is dedicated to strengthening cooperative relations among the countries of the Asia-Pacific region. Along with these multi-nation talks, Japan holds bilateral meetings with many of the nations of Pacific Asia. On July 28, 1969, American Secretary of State William P. Rogers arrived in Tokyo for the 7th Japan-U.S. Committee on Trade and Economic Affairs. An annual event, this conference ranges over issues of bilateral interest as well as problems confronting the two nations in common in Asia and the world. All of these talks and meetings have as their ultimate aim the creation of a lasting peace in the whole of Asia. They seek to promote progress and prosperity in the Asia-Pacific region, not for the benefit of any one country, but for all nations working together. Japan holds a key position in the Asia-Pacific region, both geographically and as the region's most advanced industrial nation. The Japanese people, once absorbed in the rebuilding of their country, are today turning to new tasks and new challenges. While faced with urgent problems at home, they are also prepared to shoulder their responsibilities abroad. Theirs is a search for ways to apply their vitality and their strength to creating a peaceful Asia for themselves and for all peoples everywhere.